It sound right, boy. It sound right, boy.
We are in a rain delay. It's 1-1. Bob Melvin has already been kicked out of this game because of an atrocious call by the home plate umpire against Marcana. They had the bases loaded. Only scored one in the first inning, but the Giants come into this game having won 9-12. Some hot bats like Matt Chapman. We will check in with John again at 10:15, and Pop is here. So you're doing double duty because you're doing rain delay theater with pre and post down there at NBC,
and now we're going to go to programming so we don't have to fill on TV. John's the very best at filling on. I remember him in Lund, and they didn't have us to throw back to whoever was on then, and John in Lund did like 2 hours years ago. John is the very best. He loves rain delays. So, I mean, they moved the game time up. It was supposed to be at 1 o'clock our time. They moved it up 4 hours to avoid the rain, but it's just in the area right now. They started to take the tarp off the field, and then they put it back on. So we'll see. The key thing is Kyle Harrison. I have the rain delay starting, John, at 9:46 our time, so we're exactly 20 minutes into the rain delay. And I don't know how long they would wait. He's a young arm. His velocity on the first pitch of the game was 88 miles an hour on that fastball to C.J. Abrams. He did go heavy breaking ball after that. I did see a 93 later, so he has gotten it up a little bit. But his last outing in Cincinnati, and it was very different weather because it was so insufferably hot, that he was in, he's wearing the long sleeves today to get a grip. Blake Snell had a hard time gripping his curveball last night. But, Kyle's lost velocity. We're in the dog days. The innings are getting up there for him. And his last start, he didn't have a good warm-up in the bullpen, and his velocity was down. There were even, one pitch at 88 and 89. He was way off his fastball. So something's going on with the arm where he's getting a little tired right now. So how long do you wait out this rain delay and bring him back on the mound would be the question. I remember years ago at Dodger Stadium when Tim Lincecum was a young pitcher, the rain delay, I think, was over an hour. And I could not believe it. The Dodgers had a completely different mentality and how they ran the game at that point, and they wound up pulling their starting pitcher out of the game. I think they actually started at opener. One of the first times they didn't even start a starter because they knew the rain was coming. But Bochy went back to Lincecum, and it was over an hour. And I was like, what's going on? But Lincecum's from Seattle. He's used to pitching through rain delays, so his body was kind of geared for it, Harry's from Dela. He grew up here in the Bay Area. And so I don't know what they'll do, but the real key thing here is just keep an eye on the clock. We're 22 minutes into the rain delay right now. How long will it be that you just don't bring Kyle Harrison back anymore and you shut him down the rest of the day?
Well, my big concern, too, is, and we keep bringing up Farhan saying they're the best starting rotation. Kyle Harrison is clearly tired. I don't know what they're going to do the rest of the way. I guess you deal with those things when you cross that bridge. But his first fastball, like you said, was just over 88. He did hump it up to 91, but he's normally 93, 94, and he throws that fastball a ton of the time. So if Kyle Harrison is throwing fastballs between 88 and 91, how effective is he going to be? How tired is the arm for this stretch? And John gave out the numbers before we went to rain delay theater. It's great that the Giants have won 9 of 12, going for 10 of 13, and having +1 as far as 500 if they can get out of here today with a win, if we can get this thing in. And then you get home and you play Detroit, and you hopefully, because of the home record, you start getting over 500. But he gave out the numbers. The D-backs, after sweeping the Guardians, are 13-3 since the break, and the Padres are 14-4. Your best hope might be the Braves, who are playing Jorge Soler in the outfield and starting to pay for it. And they're coming in next week because they're starting to fail a little bit. But the way that the Padres and the Diamondbacks are playing, your room for error becomes more thin and more thin by the day. So you got to win today. That'd be 10 of 13. That'd be a nice stretch going home. They've got to win games. They're hitting home runs. It's 15 home runs in 6 games. They're doing a lot of things right. But you traded Alex Cobb, and you and I talked about it on that day that they needed some insurance, I think, in that rotation with 2 22-year-old guys that are young. Birdsong struggled on this trip, barely making it through 2, and now Harrison's throwing fastballs in the 88 to 91 range. That's scary.
Well, Tristan Beck is throwing a rehab assignment in Sacramento tonight, so he could be someone to turn to. But clearly the 2 22-year-olds who are approaching, their limit on pitches, and for Hayden Birdsong, he threw 102 thirds last year. He's at 89 and 2/3 right now, so he's approaching it. We did a whole segment on Giants Post the other night on this, and Alex Pavlovich said he thinks they're going to pitch through it. They're going to let them go. You can go 35% beyond what you've done before. So I think they've got another 40 innings in them. You look at the schedule, there are some off days, coming up, not immediately, but there are some later in August. There are an awful lot of Mondays in September where you could maybe not skip them from the rotation, but pitch them on a 6th day and not a 5th day. But you're going to have to manage it. I think Birdsong, it was more inactivity than too much. He hadn't pitched in 9 days. He's essentially out of the rotation for a little while. They had to put him back in. The second game of the doubleheader, he pitched against Colorado. That's because you can go to a 27th man that day. He was not on the roster, so they had to wait, 15 days to get him back up here or whatever it was. And, he's pitched one time in 9 days. But as the clock keeps going, and I do have the feed where I am in the studio, they are taking the tarp off. They're starting to work on the area around home plate. So when they do that with the quick dry stuff, that means they're going to resume baseball at some point. The mound is still covered, but the grounds crew in Washington and Nationals Park, and they know how to deal with this because they get a lot of rain in this part of the country. The other night in Cincinnati, we waited in a 1-hour delay, and it never rained a drop in Cincinnati. That's the night Snell threw the no-hitter. There was a start where Patrick Corbin threw 2 pitches in a game, and the game went into a rain delay. So they're kind of used to this, and they don't know when it's going to roll in. But they have, as you can see, if you're looking on the stream, they have rolled back the area around home plate, and they're working on that area. The mound's still covered, so we'll see what they actually do. But as far as the rotation, they're not going to get a day off. Robbie Ray, John, was already sent back home to the Bay Area to avoid the rain and just, waiting out a long rain delay. So he's going to pitch tomorrow against the Atlanta Braves. I'm watching the Braves and Brewers right now. Atlanta is really struggling. They're down 6-0 with Milwaukee batting in the top of the third. Charlie Morton has been bombed today. He gave up 6 earned runs in 2 innings of work. We're going to see Charlie Morton next week, John. I think the matchups for when the Braves come in, and I keep bringing up that series, because to your point, Arizona and San Diego are 2 of the hottest teams in all of baseball. I mean, right now, they're looking at not just getting in the playoffs as a wild card. Arizona's within 3 games of the L.A. Dodgers for the National League West. Arizona's won 14 of their last 18 games. San Diego is within 3 games of the Dodgers. They have won 13 of their last 15. So I think the team to zero in on, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now, are the Atlanta Braves. They've lost 4 in a row going into the game tonight. Willie Adames just hit a home run off of Charlie Morton. They're down 7-0 to the Milwaukee Brewers. They are vulnerable. And just looking at the pitching matchups for next week, I think on Monday, when Atlanta rolls in, we're going to have Blake Snell against Chris Sale. And then the second game would be Charlie Morton, and hopefully Kyle Harrison will make that start, back on regular rest. But right now we're just hoping that Kyle Harrison can go back out on the bump, John, because we're approaching a 30-minute rain delay right now, although they are starting to move around a little bit, and there are some signs that our rain delay theater may stop, and we could go back to the Big Kahuna in Washington.
All right, let's throw it back. John Miller is going to take over. There's an update at 10:15 scheduled, so we'll throw it back to the broadcast crew headed up by John Miller. He'll give you an update. We probably will come back, so you'll get more Papa and Lund will be on the stream as well on YouTube and Twitch, so make sure you stay tuned regardless. But let's throw it back to D.C. and Nationals Park. John Miller with the update.
We're at Nationals Park in Washington. The Giants in a 1-1 tie with the Nationals in the first half of the third inning. Michael Conforto led off the inning with a single to left center. And then Matt Chapman, with the rain falling, came up, got the count to 3 balls and 1 strike as the much heavier rain was then falling. At which point, the first base umpire, Mark Carlson, signaled to the grounds crew to bring the tarp out. Now, we've had the tarp removed a couple of times. It was just taken off just before we got back, where they were able to turn it over because the rain had started falling again after they had first taken the tarp off the field to get rid of all of the water on top of the tarp. And but then when they brought it back and stretched it over the infield, the process was left that way. So because the rain was falling again. Now the umpire, Mark Carlson, is out there with the grounds crew, the head of the National Park grounds crew, and he just made a signal over to some Giants people in the Giants dugout as to how much longer it's going to be here. But the tarp is once again covering the infield at Nationals Park. So I wouldn't mind if they also signaled to us. And we are getting now word that the game will resume at approximately 1:35, which is what, 20 minutes from now. And so that should be that would mean, I think, that they're going to take the tarp off again here shortly, because why not if you already have a time set up to reconvene. So we are on a rain delay on the Toyota out-of-town scoreboard. Atlanta now trailing 7-0 to the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers just keep scoring and scoring as they, just as we mentioned, that they begin the process of taking the tarp off the field. Willie Adames has hit a home run in the third inning. That's the third home run of the game for the Brewers already. The Braves starter, the veteran Charlie Morton. So he's working today, which would set him up on his normal 4 days of rest to pitch the Tuesday game at Oracle Park against the Giants. But in 2 1/3 innings, he's given up 7 runs on 8 hits, including 4 home runs today. So 4 home runs for the Brewers. Contreras has 1. Churio has hit 1. Mitchell has gone deep. And now Adames has also gone deep. So kind of a nightmare for the veteran Charlie Morton today. Frankie Montas on the mound for Milwaukee. And the Padres have that 4-0 lead. It's the top of the third in Pittsburgh. The Padres have had a 2-run homer from Manny Machado in the first inning. And then David Peralta, a 2-run homer in the second inning. That game is now in the first half of the third inning in Pittsburgh, and a 4-0 lead for the very hot San Diego Padres. We're in a rain delay here. The tarp has been taken off the field. The grounds crew, they've started putting the water absorbent sand-like material around some portions of the infield dirt. First home plate area and the batter's boxes and on the pitcher's mound to try and dry those areas out a little bit. It took some rain before they got the tarp put on the field, but they are beginning the process of taking the tarp off the field completely. So we're in a rain delay. Giants won and the Nationals won first half of the third inning with just a runner at first and nobody out on a 3-ball 1-strike count to Matt Chapman. We're going to send it back to our flagship station, KNBR, and all of our network affiliates along the Giants radio network, and plan to rejoin you here with the resumption of play at 10:30 Pacific time, or at worst an update. But we'll be back at 10:30 with more from Nationals Park. I'm John Miller. This is the Giants Radio Network.
Pop and Lund back at you. Thanks for joining us. We're on YouTube and Twitch as well, and we'll continue to do YouTube and Twitch throughout to whether the Giants start playing or not. That's one of the new things we do, so make sure if you hang out on YouTube or Twitch, we'll continue whether the Giants are playing or not. As you just heard from John Miller from Nationals Park, we will check in with John at 10:30. He is saying that they will play baseball starting at 10:35. One quick note on the 49ers amidst all this Brandon Ayuk talk, by the way. Robbie Chosen, who worked out for the 49ers yesterday, the former Robbie Anderson, has signed a contract. How do I know that? Because I watched him sign it. He's signing the contract right now at 49ers HQ, so they do have some backup situation, at least to get another body in camp at worst. So he works out yesterday on the field. He signs with the 49ers today. So there's an update on that.
Well, I'm multitasking. While I'm watching Giants baseball in Rain Delay Theater, I'm doing my Niner board for the preseason, and they're a little light at the wide receiver room. So, and also I think at running back, they're a little bit light for this game. And the Niners are going to fly to Nashville tomorrow. I'll be down there and fly with the team. We'll do the show in the morning, and then got the preseason game on on Saturday night. So they've had to add a lot of wide receivers. They brought in Kirkland the last couple of days, so we'll see how much run the chosen one gets. So back to the Giants. So and right now, and they do have the weather update on the scoreboard there. They're going to rejoin the game at 1:35 local time and 10:35 our time. If that in fact is the case, it'll be a 49-minute rain delay. And I did see Kyle Harrison with Jackson Reitz. He's catching him today with Kurt Casale gone on paternity leave. And Patrick Bailey needs a day off. And obviously he caught Blake last night, but he is so gassed right now. He is tired. He's starting to show a lot of the signs of fatigue that he had last year. So Jackson Reitz is catching. But anyway, the plan, by him walking out of the bullpen, he's going to start to rewarm. So after a 49-minute rain delay, they're going to put Kyle Harrison back on the mound. Now, keep in mind, the Giants are still batting when they resume. Michael Conforto had the leadoff single. Matt Chapman is in the box when the rain delay hits. So it'll actually be, closer to an hour, John, or maybe even over an hour's time, depending on how long they hit, since Kyle last threw a pitch. So hopefully it'll be fine, that it won't be an issue, but a 49-minute rain delay is right on the borderline when you would just not bring him back in the game. But it looks like they are going to bring him back into the game because, as I said, he did walk down to the bullpen with Jackson Reitz to rewarm.
Yeah, Andrew Bagley is reporting the same thing, that he is walking back out to the bullpen to warm up. So that would seem to think that he is going to be back. I'm watching the same thing you did. They have now rolled the tarp completely off the field. So, again, we'll check in with John Miller in about 7.5 minutes, and we're anticipating, they did announce that local time here in the Bay Area, 10:35 for the restart of this game, top of the third inning, as you just pointed out. A couple of things early on. Bob Melvin's already been ejected from this game, a brutal strike three call by the ump early in the inning with Mark Canha on the at the plate. They did score one run. Tyler Fitzgerald continues his hot streak, hits a double to lead off the game. Had the bases loaded, and DJ Herz pretty much on the ropes, but he does walk one. Encarnacion walks. They get the run off of that one, but they did leave the bases loaded. Mike Yastrzemski struck out with the bases loaded. Nationals answer. So, again, a 1-1 game with Bob Melvin already kicked out of the game. So we've had a lot. Top of the third inning as we're in rain delay, and, again, anticipating a start in about 12 minutes from now from D.C. because they got to get this thing in because they're not going back there. So it's important that they get this game in today. Be nice to get the win. They'd be 10-3. They'd have a great road trip as well, and some of the bats are waking up. Speaking of Matt Chapman, who's going to be at the plate, 4 home runs for Matt Chapman on this road trip. Chapman now has 19 home runs. He's on pace to now hit 27, and he's actually third in WAR because of his great defensive abilities in the National League. So here's Matt Chapman on pace for about 27 home runs on the season. And for as much as we criticize Farhan in the signings in the offseason, certainly Soler didn't work out, but Chapman's looking like a positive. The way Blake Snell's pitching right now, he wasn't perfect like he had been in the past, but good enough to get a win yesterday. So a couple of these guys, Farhan signings in the offseason, are really coming around.
Yeah, as you mentioned, his WAR. It's 8th in Major League Baseball, 3rd in the National League. 3rd in the National League behind Shohei Ohtani, and the guy who very quietly may steal the MVP away from Shohei because he is a very good position player at second base, Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So Bob did get run. I think he's been kicked out of 5 games this year, including the one where he got run before the game.
2 by the same guy, by the way.
Well, today, this is the one who threw him out April the 21st, right. And I was at the game against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and his name is fitting at a day where we're going to have a 49-minute rain delay. Stu Sherwater is the guy that ran him, and I was there that day, and that's the day it got contentious. There was a foul tip that he missed, and the whole stadium was Oracle Park was chanting, you suck, up, you suck. It was pretty bad, and Sherwater did run him that game, and he ran him again this game because he obviously missed the call on Canha. Encarnacion drew a walk to get the run. It is interesting that Gerard Encarnacion is the Giant DH again today. Marco Luciano is just not playing. And Encarnacion is walking. He's hitting the ball better, certainly, since Marco was brought up right at the day of the deadline. He's 2 for 17, and he's just not playing at all. And you thought, they brought him up to be a DH when they traded the Jorge Soler. And Encarnacion's bats are better, plus he's got big-time power going the other way. So you wonder what they're going to do with Marco Luciano. He's not playing here. He's getting some work on the field with the major league staff, but he's not. He's not playing. Should he be better served to go back down to AAA? They don't use him even off the bench, John. So when they dealt Soler, we thought they were going to dip into the River Cats roster. We thought it was going to be Luciano because that's the first move they made. And I think Encarnacion's a better hitter. He's a big guy, 250 pounds. He could drive the ball the other way. But it is interesting that they brought Luciano up, and then shortly after, days later, they reversed course, and they brought up Encarnacion, and Luciano's still here, but he's not playing at all.
I wonder if they just – well, first of all, we say this all the time on the show, but especially as you're trying to get a wild card, I mean, it's nice to do what we've called this kind of two-timeline thing that the Warriors couldn't quite figure out. But if he's not hitting and Encarnacion is hitting, this has kind of been the theme all season long. Whoever's hot stays in. And I wonder if they just want to work with Luciano, because my first inclination is the same thing that you just said. We'll send him down so he can get the at-bats. But I do wonder if they want him to work with the Major League staff for the future to say, okay, where are we going to play you? Because a 22-year-old DH doesn't work. A DH is J.D. Martinez. A DH is, Marcell Ozuna or Jorge Soler. Those are DHs. They've got to find a position long-term for this guy, and I wonder if they're just working with him during the season to find out. I mean, they'd love to give him the at-bats, don't get me wrong, and that's what Farhan said when he made this move, that they wanted to see 150 at-bats out of the kid to determine whether he can hit or not and then figure out a position. But I do wonder if they're working with him every day with the Major League staff to find a position, because I don't want a 22-year-old DH.
Well, since he's been here, I've been watching the in-house feed every day, and maybe they're doing it. I haven't seen it, and I've been looking for it. Now, they typically, work infield a little bit later after they hit BP or very early in the day, but I'm here hours before. Now, some of it has been bad weather has not allowed them. They had a 50 or 1 hour rain delay in Cincinnati, so there was no on-field work that day at all. They hit when they took the tarp off about an hour and a half before the game, and obviously in Washington there's been rain, kind of hovering. So I don't know if they're doing the volume of the pregame work that they've been doing. They could be, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But he's just not playing. So they are going to resume this game at any minute. We'll go back out to John, and then the key thing is going to be with Kyle Harrison waiting out a 49-minute rain delay, and really be about an hour between when he worked the bottom of the second, because the Giants are batting here in the top of the third, till he goes back to work in the bottom of the third. It's going to be well over the 49 minutes. How does that impact his velocity? It was down to start the game. First pitch of the game was 88. He was up to a little hotter at 93. He's been working mainly with his breaking ball today. But you got to keep an eye on that velocity, because he may be tiring late in the year, and then how does he ride out, a 49-minute rain delay? A kid from the Bay Area, he's just not used to pitching through rain delays the way Lincecum was. All
right, so in about a minute, we'll throw it back to John Miller and the crew on the network, so we can get you ready for the game. And the word is that Giants baseball will resume right here on KNBR at about 10:35. So less than a minute to John Miller and 10:35 for baseball today. And make sure that you're watching Pop on TV. Another fine hair day for you today. Very nice. You will be on the TV side. And we may or may not, probably not with this rain delay. We were maybe going to be with you a little bit later, but I doubt it. But we will be on the off-air podcast. I will be on the off-air podcast talking all sorts of things. Some Giants, some Niners, all that sort of stuff. So if you don't want to watch or listen to Giants baseball, you do have an alternative. Just saying. We're going to be hanging out. Using dirty language, probably. All right. Anything else before we throw it to John?
That's it.
Okay. Hopefully this is it.
I'm going to go back to working on my Niner boards while you do the podcast.
Your 90-man board.
I'm boning up on Patrick Taylor.
Very nice.
He's going to run the ball on Saturday night. He is a big body. At 217 pounds. He's not quite as big as J.P. Mason, but I think we're going to see a lot of him on Saturday night, the former Green Bay Packer.
All right, back to Giants baseball with John Miller.
Welcome back to